It seems when it comes to Hunter Biden, it is never enough for some. He can't be investigated enough. He can't be punished enough. He can't be prosecuted enough. And now, of course, today's announcement of a plea deal on 2 counts of willful failure to pay federal income tax and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a person addicted to a controlled substance, not enough. Now, to be clear, I was one of those early on saying that this criminal investigation is real and it's serious and it must go on, and that certain revelations from the laptop were serious. I was saying that many in the media were not taking any of it seriously enough. We did full hours on this show when few in the mainstream media were talking about Hunter Biden. But now that a Trump-appointed federal prosecutor has cut the deal, a prosecutor who was left in that position after Biden won the presidency to ensure that he, David Weiss, and not Attorney General Merrick Garland, made the call about Hunter Biden, and has now gotten guilty pleas on charges an ordinary citizen probably would not have been charged with at all. But it's apparently still not enough. In fact, it's an outrage.
It continues to show the two-tier system in America. If you are the president's leading political opponent, the DOJ tries to literally put you in jail and give you prison time. If you are the president's son, you get a sweetheart deal.
The DOJ proved today that they are not serious about holding the Biden family accountable for crimes that have been committed. This is just a slap on the wrist.
There's a clear double standard here. It's very aggravating to me to watch people who are living privileged lives get away with essentially murder.
Essentially murder. All right. Let's have some straight talk on this, all right? Hunter Biden pled guilty and now faces about 2 years probation and additional conditions of a federal diversion program relating to the gun charge. Probation always sounds like it's a slap on the wrist. But here's what's important. These are crimes generally not even charged criminally, meaning the 2 cases for willful failure to pay the taxes usually wouldn't be charged because he paid the money back when challenged by the IRS. Typically, the IRS wants to get the money when it's requested and then potentially levy fines, meaning additional money. Very rarely do they prosecute criminally or do they ask for a prosecution. In 2021, the most recent year on record, only 370 federal tax fraud offenders of any kind nationwide were sentenced to prison. And there were additional factors in almost every one of those cases, including prior criminal records, using sophisticated methods to cover up the crimes, etc. And the gun charge for possession by a person addicted to a controlled substance almost never gets prosecuted on its own. Yes, it's often added to charges, but not typically a standalone charge. But the other argument that has been made is that this is really just the tip of the iceberg, and that Hunter Biden accepting a plea deal on these crimes gets him off the hook for so-called influence peddling. Earlier today on Fox News, their legal analyst Jonathan Turley made that case.
It was an evasion of the more serious allegations facing Hunter Biden and the Biden family. So it is historic in the sense that the president's son is going to plead guilty to criminal acts. It is going to be very controversial for critics. I think for many, this is going to look like you ticketed the getaway driver after a bank robbery. You know, many people view the influence peddling allegations as being a very serious form of corruption with potential crime. And he's going to plead guilty to relatively minor tax and gun charges. And that's not going to satisfy a lot of folks.
Satisfy a lot of folks isn't analysis, right? First of all, the prosecutor said the investigation is continuing. But just because Hunter Biden engaged in questionable business deals using his family name, which he did, it doesn't necessarily mean he violated any other laws. Exactly what other serious law did he break? What law did they have a case on and not charge him with? Not maybe, not how about, not could be, but what's the case where they had the evidence and they didn't move forward? It's also not the case that David Weiss didn't examine the other issues, as some, including Turley, have suggested. ABC News reports that prosecutors looked into Hunter Biden's overseas business endeavors, including his stint on the board of the Ukrainian energy firm Burisma and his work in China. If Weiss didn't find a chargeable crime, it doesn't mean that there's some two-tier justice, as now Donald Trump and others are claiming. And furthermore, is this influence peddling road really one that some Republicans want to go down? As I've pointed out before, you can't talk credibly about allegations of influence peddling against Hunter Biden without discussing Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. Remember, the Chinese government seems to have fast-tracked trademarks Ivanka applied for after Trump took office, then additional ones right before and after. Then President Trump reversed sanctions on Chinese telecommunications and smartphone giant ZTE for doing business with Iran and North Korea. The reversal also within days of the Chinese government agreeing to provide $500 million in loans to an Indonesian theme park that the Trump organization was involved with. And remember, 6 months after leaving the White House, Jared Kushner secures a $2 billion investment from a fund led by the Saudi Crown Prince, a close ally during the Trump administration. An investment that an advisory panel at the fund recommended against or personally overruled by the Crown Prince. As it turned out, Kushner helped broker $110 billion in weapons sales to Saudi Arabia during his time in the administration. Former President Trump even vetoed 2 bipartisan measures that would have banned Saudi weapons sales. Look, I am not saying, let's investigate the Trumps and the Kushners. I'm not. But if you want to pursue influence peddling allegations against Hunter Biden, then you gotta look into the Trump family as well. More broadly, you can't accuse the DOJ of going soft unless you have the goods. Look, if Hunter Biden's name wasn't Biden, he would not have gotten that lucrative gig consulting for Burisma, no doubt about it. But he also likely would not have been charged with the crimes to which he's pled guilty. Those screaming about a double standard, at least at this point, just don't have the evidence to back up those claims. Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.